Call Eileen upstairs, so we don't have the audio to the room.
Can I sit here, or is there assigned seats?
Yes, there are. Yeah.
Where would you like me to sit?
You're back in that room. I love it, guys.
How are you, Brian?
I'm doing great.
Hi.
That's fine.
Eileen, for some reason, somebody wants this videotape, so we need you to come down here and down to the.
Hey, Matt, we have
conference
no
room.
audio.
Matt just showed up here. He may be able to get us audio.
Jerry
We can't
sent
get
me
audio.
an email yesterday that said 8:28 the live stream. It is, at 8:28 it'll go on automatically.
8:28 it'll go on automatically.
Jerry already did that, Eileen.
Jerry,
Oh, okay.
we just need, Matt, you know how to turn on audio?
Yeah, if it's unlocked.
Yeah, but you have closed captioning.
It's locked.
It's locked. The door is locked.
Does Eileen
Brad
have?
has the keys.
Brad has
It's
to.
number 6, and I'll open it up.
Number 6 opens it up.
Matt should know how to turn it on. If he doesn't, I can run down.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Good morning. Good morning. How you doing there?
How's the DA doing? I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah. Hey.
Brian, how you doing?
You have it turned on there.
Yeah.
How about now?
Nope. Nothing.
Let me call the expert.
Here it is. We got it. It's on, Matt.
Got it.
Yeah, as soon as I said that.
You troubleshooter.
Gotta be smarter than machine.
Hey, we got it. Thanks.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay.
We do have a corner. Judge Butt's gonna be here.
Good morning, this is Brad. Who else do I have on the line? Commissioner Maravito.
Commissioner Maravito.
Jill.
Sheriff Hoskins.
Okay.
Judge Button's on the line too.
Judge? Okay. Yes, Yep. It's time I'd like to convene the prison board meeting and seek approval of the previous minutes. Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll
second it.
Okay. Rick motioned and Sheriff Luss seconded it. Any additions or corrections?
I did see one thing, and at the
Can't hear
very
him.
end,
Can't hear Brad.
at the very end, it indicates that the meeting was adjourned on a motion moved by Commissioner Musser, and you were not here. That was actually Deputy Controller Gutschall made the motion, and I believe Commissioner Maravito seconded for an adjournment.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll make that correction. Any others? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to public comment on agenda items only, and I hear none. So we'll move to the approval of the bills.
I'll move. This is Nancy Butt.
Okay. Could I have a second?
I'll second.
Any comments? I didn't see any either. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, approval of personnel actions, I don't see any.
There are none.
There are none. So we'll move right on to informational highlights. Warden?
Thank you, Commissioner. The population report indicates that in the month of July, the prison averaged 148.45 males and 26.55 males at the pre-release center, for an average daily population of 175 with a peak of 183. There were 23.65 females at the prison and 7.58 females at the pre-release center, for an average daily population of 31.23 and a peak of 38. That equals an average daily population at all facilities of 206.23. We did have a peak of 220 for the month. The in-home detention program carried 45 males and 8.06 females for the month. There were no overcrowding transfers, so our total population for the month of July was 206.23. And just to make note, if you look down at July of 2019, we were at an average of 352.32. So there still is a big, significant difference between 2019 and 2020. Compared to last month, our numbers stayed relatively the same. We were 208.10 last month. We're 206.23 this month.
Since I was not here at the last meeting, did you discuss why the numbers are down?
Yes, again, a lot of that is due to COVID-19, due to the suspension, or not so much the suspension of all court activities, but certainly there's less court activities going on, and a lot of the people that are being sentenced right now, there is a large majority that are being placed on in-home detention. I don't know if the district attorney wishes to speak on that at all, but that's something that's being done in a lot of plea agreements, where we have inmates that are not serving their sentence in the jail, but they're serving it at home under adult probation supervision.
I would agree with that.
The only thing I would disagree with the warden on is we are still busy. I wouldn't say that because it's the summertime that we're as busy as we are on a non-vacation time, but we are pretty much up to speed getting back into our areas of practice. So I think in large part the reduction or the consistent reduction is due to the change in approach incarceration versus the heavier use of electronic monitoring.
Yeah, I would agree, and I apologize. Suspension was probably the wrong word to use there. Certainly the courts are starting to increase their activities, and we're seeing that, and I anticipate that we will continue to see that in the coming months as there begins to be more closure on open cases.
But one thing that my personal belief, but also I think that all the judges share it, unless it's an extraordinary circumstance or like we're dealing with now, which is this week jury selection, I'm not transporting anybody because I am very conscious about the 14-day quarantine and having people be at the county prison for a while, come over here, possibly be exposed to something, and then not only have to restart quarantine again, but potentially risk bringing something into the county prison.
Thank you. Sheriff, would you like to comment?
I think, excuse me, I think that's prudent. I think it's kind of in the reverse effect. We don't want to, there's always that potential in the building to have something get through, and taking it back to the prison, not seeing it, not catching it, having something asymptomatic go in there for a number of days. We've had an employee who was asymptomatic, tested, was asymptomatic, and then was positive. Didn't even have any symptoms, and I think it's really prudent. I also think it's a great opportunity with Judge Butts leading the way to continue to do as much video conferencing as possible. I mean, I think COVID has shown us that we can do this in a lot of ways and save a lot of resource when we don't have to be moving inmates unless it's required statutorily to move them. And I hope once COVID's gone that we continue this path, because it just makes a lot of sense, it saves a lot of money, and it saves a lot of resource.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any other comments on the population? I'd just like to thank everybody who's cooperating and getting the job done, because it is saving a lot of our time, resources, and money. Thanks for the effort. Go ahead, Warden.
Next is the prison disciplinary report. In July, there were 36 hearings conducted by the Prison Disciplinary Committee. Of those 36 hearings, 34 resulted in guilty with lockup time. 2 of those hearings were guilty with time suspended, and there was no hearings that ended in a not guilty decision. 29 inmates had disciplinary matters, 5 of which had greater than 1 incident, and there were 22 informational reports generated by staff for the month. Deputy Warden Barnes, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't.
Next report is the pre-release center report. Indicates that in the month of July, there was an average of 27 work crew males and 8 work crew females. And out to the far right then, the year to date indicates an average of 44 males and 11 females. The next report is the bail release program report. In July of 2020, the bail release program carried an average of 144.64 clients in the program. That's broken down to 65.55 on supervised bail, 70.9 on intensive supervised bail, and 8.19 on supervised release, serving a sentence for driving under suspension. That average of 144.64 equates to a bed day saved at the prison of 4,484. Next report is the mental health data report. The mental health snapshot was taken on August 7th of 2020, and on that date there were 268 inmates in the prison system. 126 of those inmates were found to have no mental health history. 41 were found to have past mental health history but no active symptoms in the last year. 83 were having current mental health history or current mental health issues, and 18 were determined to be seriously mentally ill. The inmates on psychotropic medications at the pre-release center, there were, if you break it down to males and females, there were 31 males on that day, 8 of which were receiving psychotropic meds, or 25.81%. There were 4 females on this date, and 2 of which, or 50%, were receiving psych meds. At the prison, we had 146 males and 31 were receiving meds, that's 21.32%, and 25 females at the prison, 9 of which were receiving meds, or 36%. At the bottom, you'll see that the total number of inmates on meds at the pre-release center was 28.5%. The total percentage of inmates at the prison was 23.39, and in the prison system, it's 24.27% of inmates receiving psych meds, which is around the average. We have been right around 25% for the last several months. Additional Informational highlights are that on July 30th of 2020, members of the Lycoming County Prison staff participated in TASER training conducted by Training Sergeant Joe DeFrancisco. I would anticipate that we'll start to see the prison and the pre-release center begin to reintroduce our training programs. Normally we have training every month, but due to some medical leave and also the COVID issues that we're dealing with, we had suspended training for staff, but I would anticipate that we will see that start to increase. And those are all the informational highlights I have.
Thank you, Warden.
I have one question.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
Warden,
Yes.
with the, obviously with the much diminished amount of pre-release deals, like with, with some of the work that they do, a lot of work that they do that they couldn't do, the community service kind of work, that's going to affect the length of stay for the pre-release inmates.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Okay. Pre-release inmates go out and they do field work, they do jobs with foremen. Does that at all affect the length of stay for them at PRC? Because they haven't been able to go out since, they've had very little ability to go out in some situations since March. Does that cause them to have to stay longer?
No, it doesn't affect their length of sentence. We have suspended our work release. We suspended that at the beginning of the COVID breakout in March. We suspended all work release operations, so we don't have any inmates going out to private employment. Work crew has continued to be up and running. We've had less inmates, so we have a limited number of sites, but we're still sending inmates out to RMS. And we still have several job sites that we're working on that we have work crews that are participating in that. So no, it wouldn't affect their length of sentence, but the lack of numbers out at the pre-release center due to COVID has certainly had an impact on the amount of work sites that we've been able to provide services to.
Okay, thank you.
We do have the pre-release manager here, John Loisel, in case there's anything, John, you wish to add also.
No, that pretty much sums it up.
Okay.
Any other questions for the Warden? Okay, we'll move on to old business reentry. John?
Thank you, Commissioner. As of the 11th of August, when we prepared...
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
I apologize. Could you stand at the microphone, please?
Morning. Thank you, Commissioner. As of the 11th of August, when we prepared this report, we had 69 participants at reentry services. 41 of those were male clients, 28 females. 50 of the referrals came from the probation office, and 19 cases were sentenced by the court.
Commissioner, I can't hear him at all.
Is that mic on?
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
You may want to take off your mask. There you go.
Can you hear him, Sheriff?
Sheriff, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Commissioner, but I can't hear John.
Can you hear him now?
Hello.
Hello, John? Hello?
Sheriff, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll start over. As of the 11th of August, when our report here was prepared for reentry services, we had 69 participants in programming at reentry. 41 of those were male clients, 28 female clients. 50 of those referrals came from the adult probation office, and 19 of those have been sentenced by the court. Currently, 17 of those are in phase 2 of programming, 13 are in phase 3, and to date we have 384 successful completions of reentry services, with a total of 1,260 intakes, 900 of those being individual intakes. We've talked before about, we've had folks leave reentry services for many different types of reasons, whether it be reincarceration for violations, hospital stay, maybe off to services for drug and alcohol treatment. and we do take those folks back into programming. With respect to the financial review, to date, we've paid our vendor $4,315,504.88. I'd ask to take your attention to what we've diverted in costs to our prison with respect to the global positioning and alcohol monitoring program. That now exceeds what we've paid our vendor for reentry services, to the excess of $630,625.12. So, like I said, it's not money we're putting on the table, but they're costs that have been absolutely diverted. With respect to that, to date, we've serviced 1,015 offenders on some type of electronic monitoring, and would point out that that's an offender pay program. The vendor provides that programming to the county at no cost. The offender pays for that programming on their own. To date, those, with that being said, of 70,659 days that have been diverted from our prison. Going back to the folks that are actively in reentry services, I would point out they're both two different programs. Reentry services is different from electronic monitoring. But the folks that are in reentry services, 19 of those have been identified as being opiate users or having a history of opiate use. We coordinate and work with those folks accordingly. One of those participants also participates in the drug court program. And in the month of July, we had 15 intakes, and you're able to look there back across all the way back to 2014 when we first opened services here. Relatively consistent with previous months of the month of July. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for John?
Very good, thank you.
Okay, prison board meetings, the next one's scheduled for September 11th. It's hard to believe, September already. At the prison, are we planning on changing that?
No, I think we can hold it at the prison.
Okay, we will hold it at the prison, and then the rest of them are as listed on the agenda. Any new business? Hearing none. Any public comment? There is none. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Hold on, Commissioner.
Whoops, one
We
moment.
have an executive session.
We do?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I saw that on here, but I didn't.
apologize. For the board members who are attending remotely, if you could hang up from the conference line and call back to the conference line in about a minute, we're going to reconvene in the back room.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Solicitor, we should not be adjourned then. We have to come back to adjourn?
We have to come back to a vote and adjourn.
Okay.